he's not wrong. The criticism is completely valid.
It was our first.
They effed it up.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Gerard Mayo made a blunder. Should have managed the end of the first half better. This is the first and only thing we've heard from Bill on the Patriots.
Nothing week one.
Not a single thing to say.
And me being a Bill guy, that was bad.
He is a petty little baby.
You know what I found unusual?
He really is. He is a child.
You know what I found unusual? Live on location.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah. Okay.
But just this. That's what he's got. That's all he's got so far. So that's what he's going to do. He's going to wait for Gerard Mayo to make mistakes and then call them out.
Well, I would have done this.
Anyone else brings up the Patriots, he's going to change the subject. Anything good that happens with them this year, he's going to pretend like it didn't happen. Like it was never a thing. That's who he is. That's the real Bill. He's showing you who he is.
Well, this is an interesting week because of Aaron Rodgers and Bill's affinity for this single player and love for him. Like, over-the-top type stuff, even more so than Peyton Manning. You know, just for me doing the one-on-ones with Bill, every time we played Green Bay, like, this guy's like, he's unbelievable. You know? I mean, I remember we lost out in Green Bay before we went to that Super Bowl. We went out to San Diego the next week, stayed out there for a week, but we lost that in a shootout. Remember Revis got beat by Jordy Nelson on that slant?
Yep.
And Bill, after a loss, first time ever, after a loss, stood there for 40 minutes. Oh, what an effort. What a game. Like, pissed off every other loss. Not that one, because it's Aaron Rodgers that beat him. And if Aaron Rodgers tears you up on Thursday night, wait for Bill to have some commentary on that, what he would have done to fix it. And that's where it could get. Oof. Yeah, I'm with you on that. First mistake, you're going to jump on it, but no compliments after week one win. Because that's the guy who replaced you. Petty.
How little, how small of him to
I
do
love
this.
Bill. I mean,
to do this.
Yeah. Tells you where that relationship is.
What a coward.
Because, man, earlier in that
Seriously.
broadcast, they asked him about 28-3, and the first thing he brought up were the coordinators, McDaniels, Patricia, Joe Judge, those three guys. And that's all he talked about the whole time.
He never said Tom Brady.
No.
He never
Brady
said
in overtime.
Julian Edelman.
No, the coordinator, Matt
James
Patricia.
White.
This is about him and his coaching friends and friends of Bill. That's all it's about with him. Who are my guys? Who is loyal to me? Who did whatever I wanted over the years? Oh, yeah, no, it's great. You're right, Bill. Joe Judge. Was Joe Judge the one that made the tackles and ran down the field on those kickoffs that pinned Atlanta deep, as he mentioned? I heard that.
Twice inside the 15.
Like
Add that. Yeah.
We're going to talk about Joe Judge and how good Joe Judge was in that Super Bowl. I can't ever recall in all the conversations we've had about that game, has Joe Judge's name been brought up by anyone other than Bill Belichick when it comes to why that game was so great?
No, the second I heard that, my first thing I thought of was Gostowski missing a kick, which kind of got you believing that second half.
Oh, that's on the player.
Happen.
That's on the player.
Yeah.
That's not on Joe Judge. When the players make plays, it's great coaching. When they fail, it's on the player.
Plus, you went for two twice. You didn't even kick those. Like, okay.
Bill. Now, I did see this tweet last night from John Buchagras, ESPN. Did you see his tweet?
No.
He said, the Manning cast with Belichick is excellent tonight on ESPN2. Masterclass. It's mind-boggling Belichick doesn't have a head coaching job. No, it isn't. What should maybe be a little more mind-boggling is when all of a sudden he didn't have the best talent. He had a losing record 3 of the last 4 years and a 4-win season last year. Yeah. How is it mind-boggling that he got fired? I don't get that. Oh, he's so good on Manningcast. Well, yeah.
You're talking football.
He's talking football. He's a brilliant football mind. But he's lost his edge a little bit. And his roster composition and his scouting and everything went to crap, which was all part of his job here. It's not that mind-boggling. And he's also a guy who's obsessed with my guys, my way. That's not, and that was evident on that broadcast, as we just mentioned. It's not that mind-boggling why the Falcons or anybody else might say, we're kind of good with that. We're kind of good with operating in Bill's way.
You see what's happening here, too. So this isn't off-season Bill anymore. This is in-game now. This is what I do. This is how they have to counter. You got to stop the run here. Oh, there's Judon. Look at him right there. Yeah, this is Bill getting back into football mode as a coach. So this is all building towards him coaching.
The Patriots look better on both sides of the ball already through 2 games without Bill Belichick,
said that after the game.
That must hurt. So to anybody who watches the Manning cast and thinks, how is this guy out of a job? I don't know. Look at Gerard Mayo. Gerard Mayo, yes, did he screw up at the end of the first half? He did. Has he made mistakes as a first-time head coach and a rookie head coach? He has. You know what? That's kind of how it goes. Do we want to go back and review Bill in his first 2 weeks in Cleveland? Do we want to do that?
Well, how about the
Has he never made a mistake? Has he been perfect his entire career? The Patriots are a better team right now without Bill. They're better without him. That must pain him, which is why he's sitting there on the broadcast last night taking a shot at Gerard Mayo.
See,
what a loser move that is.
Even the last 5 years, even with Brady in the last two, the end of game stuff and end of half stuff went out the window. He was taking a knee with Brady and running it out.
Yeah.
Remember, we're sitting there like, what about the double score? The Shaughnessy double score.
So I guess Bill's also going to need to decide this. Is Gerard Mayo one of his guys in his coaching tree or not?
Yes. It's team captain. Multiple years.
Is he a Bill disciple or not? So when you call out the stuff he does bad, are we supposed to blame you and say, it's another Bill Belichick coaching tree failure?
See, the problem is
or are we supposed to
all those other head coaches that Gerard Mayo learned under?
Because I seem to remember last week people giving Bill a lot of credit for a Bill Belichick style win.
Yeah.
But I think that bugged Bill. Because, damn it, it's my guys. They signed them all back. He and Patricia did that whole thing. Well, all these guys, yeah.
Why? Because he did Bill better than Bill was doing Bill last season? Is that why?
Well, it seemed
why it pisses him off?
It seemed like Patricia was teed up to say, these are the guys we brought in. Bill didn't say it. Patricia did.
What a crybaby Belichick is. I just, if you don't think Gerard Mayo's a good head coach, can you at least root for him just to see where this thing goes? Really. For anyone who might be wishy-washy on Gerard Mayo and if he's going to be a good head coach.
He coexisted with his son, co-calling the defense, handling it all. It took all the marching orders from you, and learned from you. What is so bad about that? It's more above him, I think, that signed a contract to replace him. And that's probably what he didn't like.
Yeah, and I kind of get that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to in-game stuff, like that coach-to-coach thing,
some appreciation for it.
We
talked about this.
Were you perfect?
Perfect.
And you know what? I'd have no problem with Bill talking about that last night if last week he was saying the positive things and he was just calling it like he sees it. But he's not doing that. If he had said all kinds of nice things last week about a good win by that team, then there's no problem with calling out when they screw up. That's actually doing media. And when good things happen, you compliment. When bad things happen, you say, well, it went wrong, and here's who you blame.
And last week's the perfect spot, too, because he could even talk Brissett hey, we saw something Jacoby when we drafted him. We had Tom, we had Jimmy. We still brought Jacoby in.
New England was not going to let Jacoby Brissett beat him.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing in Pittsburgh, right?
Oh, yeah. No, same thing in Pittsburgh. And no one ever said, get to the hill, let's go to the hill more than me. As Michael Barty said, that's Bill's thing. No, nobody did that more than Bill. Right. That is right. Mike Lombardi. How do we forget?
I just think it's interesting. I want to talk about him being on location, too. So that's...
No, nobody said get to the hill more than Bill.
Bill did build a hill. He built the hill.
Why didn't it work last year out of the gate when they dropped the first couple of games of the year?
I think they took too many days off towards the end.
Oh, is that what it was? Maybe they weren't running the hill as much anymore?
Different practices. Yeah. Camp Cushy. That was a long camp. It's a long camp this year. The more and more you look at it. 2.5 hour practices, hills. No contact, but mentally drained them. And I think it got them ready to go. It's a team that's in shape. Yeah. It's credit to Gerard.
When was the last time the Patriots won an opener before this year? It was 2019, I think? How come he kept losing the opener every year if all
that's extension of the preseason.
Hill was going on.
You didn't have all three of those coordinators that orchestrated all those great moments.
Right. That's right. That's a good call. How come he kept losing
season
the
doesn't
first
start till
week
week 5.
Bill's at the
game. You think it was because he was sitting right next to him?
Maybe. Matt Patricia's there in Philly. Bill's in Philly, and they're walking around the field pregame.
Okay, so this is what I noticed. So Bill's in a full suit.
For TV.
Dressed up, full suit. Patricia I think he has a Eagles cover-up on, a sweatshirt. He was invited on the sideline. I think Patricia spent some time actually on the Eagles sideline. And this is defense that when he took over, they lost, 6 straight games?
They hate him there, don't they?
I don't know, but Bill has such a good relationship with Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. So he's in full suit. He's walking with Patricia, and I see this on the TV as they're going to break. Team's warming up. He's walking right through the end zone where the team's warming up. And I just flash back to just the way we ran things when he was here, that you couldn't step on our side of the 50. You couldn't stand out. Remember the stuff in Buffalo where I think his son's Brian and one of the other guys just barely grazed the corner, and then McDermott went nuts?
Went crazy.
Come on. Yeah, I mean, Buffalo's a tighter sideline. It's hard not to step in the end zone. But it's almost like he and Patricia went out of the way to walk right through the end zone. And this is going to break. And I'm thinking, okay, Philly, Sirianni, they lose a tight one last night, blew that one. That's one of the landing spots potentially. With his relationship with Lurie and Howie Roseman. Like Howie Roseman could be one of those GMs. Yeah, I'll work with him. I don't need last call.
I think he's there assessing the situation. I think ask me.
I think they're making themselves aware that, hey, we're here, we're watching, and also the other team, Atlanta, was in town.
You talk about that game last year here. So
yeah,
with that meeting,
sure.
How would you describe it again? With on field, Bill and Howie,
lovable,
loving.
Huh?
Was it a loving embrace?
I would say Bill. The two times Bill ever stood out to me in a pregame, down in Dallas, he went right across and saw Jerry and Steven. Shook their hands, hugged, talked to them. He never does that pregame. Mm-hmm. Bill goes right down the end zone, talks to the either Ernie, when Ernie was here, or the special teams coach, talking about trajectory of the ball, looking at the lights. He came out, went right over to the Joneses, and Howie Roseman. That's it. It's the only two pregame where it was like, wow. That's unusual. Good relationship with them. They joint practices, all that stuff. Preseason.
Was Bill talking to Sirianni at any point?
I didn't see that.
I didn't see that. I don't think.
If I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm like, what is he doing here?
Yeah, that's
definitely.
Who's the big guy, the security guy? Big Dom?
The game.
Big Dom. Get him, back him up.
The game plays out the way that it does last night. Nick Sirianni's lucky to even be back there this year.
Right.
They had a long.
He looked like a hardo last week, barely shaking hands.
A long talk there in Philly before they decided to keep him. Could they pop him in season? And if they
have 4 more of those losses,
is that a situation where Bill would say, you know what, in season I would take that job? A lot of jobs he would say, no way, I'm not taking over a bad team mid-season.
Think about it. Patricia was there. He knows that defense inside out, so he's getting intimate knowledge. The offense is turnkey with those receivers, that back. Saquon and Hurts. Yeah.
He was throwing flowers at Hurts and Smith last night.
Plus, he's very friendly with Kelsey. There's too many connections in Philly now. Philly's in play, I think.
And why would he be there last night? He's assessing the whole situation. He's
dressed
talking
up.
to people. He's taking a walk around the building to get a feel for the place.
And Philly held a room for him to do his TV.
Isn't that interesting?
In the stadium.
Yeah, I'd love to have you here.
He's already talking to their PR team.
I did not think about that. If I was Sirianni, I'd be like, what are we doing, guys?
That's what I thought.
Well, what are you going to do? He's just a media guy now.
Right.
He walked
just a media guy.
Walked right through the end zone. Like, team's
He
warming
did
up.
right across the corner of the end zone. And Patricia.
Not across the corner. It was like halfway through the end zone.
What is up with
I
that?
texted Bob last night, and I'm like, Bob, did you see it? He goes, yeah. Wow.
Belichick and Patricia just randomly show up at the Eagles Monday night game.
Talking about Patricia, too.
Suspicious.
Yep.
Something could be brewing there.
Bill just doesn't, matter of fact, do things. Everything is pre-calculated and planned. Yeah, know the guy.
You
So,
told me you were
Tim?
enjoying our Bill Belichick commentary on your way in here,
I was.
and you want to pile on.
Well, first, I just want to say, I don't want to pile on, but I want to say last week,
Yeah.
we mentioned he didn't say anything about the Patriots
Right.
on our segment, and we said if he does when it's negative, we will have identified an agenda. So I want to compliment you for identifying the agenda.
Thank you.
One thing, and then I just want to say why I think he was at the game is I think he works out of NFL Films, which is right outside of Philly. So that's where it's based in like Mount Laurel, New Jersey.
Okay, so inside
I
the
think that's the
NFL,
basis of
inside the
the
NFL's tape there?
I believe so. So I think that's more that.
So you think he's down there to do that show during the week, so he's in the area.
Exactly.
And
Didn't have to
figured-
be at the game, though. He
And
could
figured,
still
why
stay
not
at the
just
hotel.
go on over to the game?
In a suit.
So to your point,
In a suit.
So to your point, I'm listening to Bill Belichick on Sirius XM NFL Radio. Let's go with Tom Brady.
Let's go.
Yesterday,
Let's go.
and Tom
Did they do
asked
this
him-
together?
They Tom was like overseas for a soccer match, but they were looped in together.
God.
And Tom asks Bill, are there organizations as you studied, now that you're being able to study all 32, that you think are doing it at a really high level outside the Chiefs? So right when I hear the question, Beetle, I'm thinking, okay, let's see who he answers, because these might be teams he's looking at, right, for his own situation. Dallas, Philly, Houston, just to get Nick Caserio some props. And then here's what I wrote down, because I knew when I heard Beetle talking about it on my ride in, Beetle's going to love this one. I think the Lions have built a really good offensive line for their quarterback. This is something that Matt Patricia started, and now they are kind of getting the fruits of their labor from him.
Let's hear it. We have the clip. Hit it, T-Bone, whenever you have that ready. That's all this is about for Bill. This is about taking care of his buddies, talking up the coaches that he is friendly with, and vying for jobs.
Outside of, let's say, Kansas City, because everyone's going to think them, is there any organization that you feel that is just a bit above everybody else? There's kind of a norm in the NFL, and then there's other teams that are, you see, hey, consistently process-wise trying to do things the right way. Is there any teams that you look at and you think, okay, like they got it going?
Well, I think there's a lot of teams that are managed really well. Certainly Dallas has accumulated a lot of really good players, and they've been able to balance that with some guys like Aubrey and Turpin and guys like that really are great players, but didn't cost too much in terms of draft capital or contracts. Look at a team like Philadelphia also in that division. They've also put together a pretty good roster. They continue to make great moves like signing Bryce Huff and trading away Reddick and, giving that problem to somebody else and things like that. So, I think that the Lions have built a really good offensive line for their quarterback. And, they couldn't get, a lot of production in the red area last week. But, that's something that, Matt Patricia started. And now they're kind of, getting the fruits of the labor from him. But things like that, you look at how other teams are being managed around the league. And, I certainly see some, Nick Caserio has done a great job in Houston and, has gotten the quarterback they need, but it's got also a good team around them. Yeah, it's definitely been interesting to watch these teams operate.
The Lions are seeing the fruits of Matt Patricia's labor. Is he serious with that? He thinks the current Lions situation is the work of Matt Patricia.
We need to look to see how that offensive line was built.
I knew.
Are they all drafted, or did nobody came in as a free agent?
Who hears that and believes it? No, I want to know. I want to meet the guy who hears that and says, you know what? Bill's right. The Lions are good now because of Matt Patricia.
Good. So the offensive line, here's the thing. Technically, he's right. They drafted, Bob Quinn, the former general manager. There was a local guy. Taylor Decker, left tackle, Frank Ragnow, center.
Ragnow's a good player.
They've got some good offensive linemen. I think it's one position in a whole bigger thing. And Beetle, as I was listening to you guys, it was great radio, as it always is, if I might say so.
No, thank you.
But my whole thing with Bill Belichick is, one, I love that he's doing this stuff because I do think he's great in terms of talking the game.
Disappointment list.
Last night in the Manning cast, there was one play where Saquon Barkley got knocked down in the red zone. I didn't even see it. And he's pointing out, how the defensive player knocked him down. I'm like, oh, this is like watching a game with Bill. This is unbelievable. But where my view of it from someone who's been invested in New England Patriots is it's hard for me to listen to everything he's saying before he answers to some of the things that happened the last couple years. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but accountability is really important to me.
Sure.
And for him to be critiquing other teams' franchises before he acknowledges, hey, in 2022, Josh McDaniels leaves to become head coach of the Raiders. I sort of messed that up. Or here's what I was thinking with what I did, and here's why it didn't work out. Hey, I signed Juju Smith-Schuster over Jacoby Myers. I sort of messed that one up.
Wouldn't that be something though?
But
not to interrupt you, but hey, I wanted to bring Myers back because that's the real report. But I got talked into Juju. If he would say who, front office talked into Juju.
I feel like there's something like that for me.
Right.
Just for me. Everyone's different. Just needs to happen before I can really take everything he says at the face value.
See what we're getting?
He's a narcissist, though. He's not going to do that. Everything's about him. He's never done anything wrong. He never admits his faults. That's not who he is. When has he ever done that?
Well, the campaign's on. Like, they did this a week ago, him and Patricia. These are the guys we drafted in second contracts.
The
now.
most you've ever heard is when he says, we've got to coach better. That's it. Over the years, the only line you've ever got from him taking any sort of accountability is, we got to coach better. This big, broad statement after a loss, we got to coach better.
Well,
right? Did he ever get into the specifics of what needed to be coached better? Right? No, that wasn't his deal. That's not what he did.
And I love listening to you guys because it's telling to me, just as a longtime observer of him, is my question is like, has he learned? I mean, literally the last 2 years, what happened offensively here, like you can argue that is a fireable offense. And what has he learned from that? And in listening to him, I'm assessing what I think he maybe learned. Not that I have all the answers, but to me, it's important to just be accountable.
There's a lot of similarities to when we did like plays of the week, and he's just breaking down football stuff. That's where he's at his best. It's then dealing with the local media where he doesn't give you guys anything for 20 years. And now you start to get a little bit of things, and I understand why. You would want more answers before. Boy, we're gonna take all this stuff to heart, like he's saying now. That's the tough part. It's hard listening to him now at times, because man, we had that for 20 years, and when you win and you're so good, you think that's the only way. But man, he asked me like, "What about your pregame things with Bill?" We saw in Dallas and Philly, were the two ones where he went out of his way to see Jerry and Steven and Howie Roseman. I think those are two potential landing spots.
But Matt Patricia's work in Detroit, guys. I mean,
The foundation.
That'll be his defensive coordinator, guys.
Just the building blocks, my friends. I mean,
That guy's his DC.
Detroit,
Get
you
ready.
were on the verge of being in the Super Bowl last year. Have you thanked Matt Patricia yet? Have you done that? Has Dan Campbell made an admission on this yet?
Send him a fruit basket, something.
That he's only partially responsible for his team's success, and that really they need to focus on, Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. Give those guys their credit. There's Detroit right now, fruits of his labor.
Reaping.
That's what it is, guys. Detroit, fruits of Matt Patricia's labor, for sure. You can't take him seriously when he says things like this. You can't. You cannot do it. Absolutely not.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.